combined field of New South Wales Sports Sedans, Marc Cars and Production Sports Cars here for the first of their three races this weekend at Sydney Motorsport Park. And as you can see on the front row, it's Brad Shields in Joe Sed's Fiat rotary powered turbocharged 124 with Jeff Taunton alongside in the Marc car, well, in the Marc series entered innovative race cars entry. So come down to a rolling start for this one. Adam Hargraves on the next row with was going to be Axel Donaldson, but I don't know if he's taken the start. They had a crash in qualifying. May not have been there for this one. It's hoping to be out later in the day, but it's Shields that goes straight to the lead. Taunton in second. Hargraves will get into third, and then the first of the production sports cars will be the next one. I think that's Cressida should be next as they filter down through turn one. All fairly well behaved on this, the opening lap. And interesting to see at this combined grid, which is a sign of things to come, because next year at the Bathurst 12 Hour in combined sedans, we'll have a grid something like this, won't we, Dan Beckinsale?
We definitely will, and it's going to be interesting to see how this race develops, because as these guys finish their warm-up lap, Gary, it started raining. So there is drizzle through the final corners and down the main straight at least, because that's where we're positioned between the hairpin and the main straight. It looks pretty dry over at turn 6, but that often happens here. You end up with that section of the circuit just getting a different weather pattern through it, and we'll have to see how that affects the Prod Sports cars, the Marc Cars Australia and the New South Wales Sports Sedans. Of course, Marc Cars Australia and New South Wales Sports Sedans, great to have them combined here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Yeah, so it's Shields leading the way. He's got about a 2-second gap already on Taunton. Taunton normally runs his car in the National Sports Sedans Championship, but is running under the Marc Cars specification this weekend, which is somewhat restrictive to what he would normally be doing. Hargraves in third, Donaldson fourth on the road at this stage. Steve Lacey, who you may see there as a Marc car, but actually is running as a sports sedan. He currently leads the New South Wales Sports Sedan Championship, and he's ahead of Tressida. Dan Nolan in the Mazda RX-7 with a Toyota Supra turbo-powered unit under the bonnet. Nick Mantikos in his sports sedan, which is a Mark II car, and one of the Porsches. Is that
Donaldson, I think.
That's Jake Donaldson.
Yeah. So Donaldson's lost position, which has enabled Lacey to get back up. Now, Lacey's listed as Mark, but I believe his sports sedan. Yeah. So he's one to watch out for in the battle with Brad Shields. Good to have the Marc cars here this weekend. Of course, they've got a strong relationship with Sports Sedans and Steve Lacey, as we've had another one of the Porsches go off. So that is the 144 Zalua in that Porsche
Marcel
off the track.
Zula.
And then we've got, sitting further back in the 96, that's Kurt McCready. Now, long-time Sports Sedans fans will know Anthony McCready, who has run a 300 ZX for many years and is a previous state champion as well. His son Kurt, who is the IPRA state champion and national champion previously
in under 2 litre.
Car, in under 2 litre, now running back again with Sports Sedans. We saw Kurt start his racing career, with New South Wales Sports Sedans before moving across to IPRA, and he's now back to run this round. So it's great to see him now battling it out. He's with Theo Camburis right there, and Glenn Pro as well. Pro had an interesting journey to the track, I saw on social media before the weekend. He came across a unfortunate Mustang incident on the highway.
Is that perhaps why he didn't get a qualifying time in?
No, I think he arrived last night, so it might not have affected him at all. But anyway, coming down the main straight, it's got a good little battle, and they're trying to chase down the 44 of Fred Gessler in front.
Which has looked like it's had a bit of a refresh body-wise. Certainly looks a little bit different the last time we've seen it, but these two are Division 2, Division 3 cars in sports sedans, and Pro is obviously having some problems because generally he would be a fair bit quicker than those two cars in front of him.
Yep, and Taunton has just set the fastest first sector of the race to be able to start chasing down Brad Shields out in front. Of course, may have mentioned, Gary, that we caught up with Joe down in the pit lane before the start of this race, and he was excited that the weather conditions might just become just right for Brad Shields in this race. There's a huge slide for Glenn Pro, so Pro with trying hard to get past Theo Camburis, and then in amongst it there is one of the Porsches, but behind that McCready ready to pick up any position he can as well.
That's the Anthony Skinner Porsche by the look of it, or is it? No, it's the McClellan car that we're seeing there ahead at the moment.
Good little battle from all these guys in this race.
That's the good thing about Sports Sedans. They do run their club championship over 3 divisions based on lap times.
Yep.
And at the moment, I think you'll find that in Division 2, leading that championship is Glenn Pro, ahead of Graham Smith and Jude Barguana, and neither of those two are running this weekend. Theo Camburis is in 4th spot in Division 2. So, and Sean McQuinney is the next one there in that group. But they're all having a good kick along, but I would have thought Pro might have been a bit quicker than these guys, but certainly not at the moment.
He's spent a lot of time trying to develop that Supra, of course, turbo powered as well, so there's a little bit of finicky stuff going on with that car, and sometimes, of course, a lot of these guys, the things that people don't remember about sports sedans is a lot of these guys at New South Wales State or Victorian State, and especially the midfield, are guys who are still doing it out of the shed at home, like the days of old, I guess you could say, for what sports sedans heritage is. Like, they're custom built cars, but they're also a lot of individual thought process in how you go about racing and what's going to make something quick.
There's no two alike, is there?
No, exactly. They might look alike, similar or alike from the external, but you know, unlike Marc Cars, for example, where you have the different generations that are the same underneath, mostly, I guess you could say, sports sedans can have the same outer shell. You take Bill Chetton and Steve Lacey's cars that were both Viagra's motorsport cars, but have been developed so differently now that both of them are completely independent.
Exactly, and of course within the Marc Cars Australia series, you've got Innovation Race Cars and Marc Cars, and certainly different generations of those cars. And leading the Marc Cars series with a round to go at Isle of Magic in November is the entry of John Crossing in the Mark 1, probably 1.5, because they have been updated a little bit along the ways. But interesting that he's leading that series just through consistency.
Yeah,
we're not necessarily the fastest, but that's the reward, isn't it?
That's it. You just got to make sure you keep on finishing. And we've seen that in sports sedans as well. You got to keep on finishing. You got to keep on making sure you get those points, because you don't get those points, and these cars are finicky, and you will drop out of one race, but be fine for races 2 and 3, for example, as Gessler doesn't make it work and loses out to position to Theo Camburis there. And we see so often that championships can be put together just by making sure your sports sedan makes it to the finish line each time.
Yeah, Camburis, as I said, 4th in the series. Gessler is in 6th position in the series, so they're probably going to benefit this weekend by being further up, getting a good place, because some cars not running. We've got Antikos in the Mark II Mustang, leading there from Bolero in the Production Sports Porsche. And it's a good combination of categories, because they're all within similar lap times, I guess you could say. Certainly amongst the front runners, where we had a good mix up the front with the 3 different categories running this weekend.
Yeah, you can see here coming through, getting a good look at the Mantikos Marc car that is built to sports sedans regulations. So there's a few little changes to that one. The independent bakery car, a supporter of New South Wales sports sedans, and people who have watched for a long time would probably remember Nick in the Datsun 1600 that ran,
turbocharged 1600. Ran that for a long time.
Saw it go against some bigger V8 machinery, and he decided to move on to the Marc car to get himself some of that V8 machinery, and now he's trying to chase down Nolan for position.
He actually ran in Production Sports when he first got it, but then he's since made the changes to make it sports sedan legal. And when we say sports sedan legal, no traction control, no other
slight aero modifications and things like that. Now out in front, Taunton has closed the gap considerably to Shields. It's down to 1.4 seconds. So
well, what's out to 5? So is there a bit of drama with our race leader?
I'm not sure what's happened there, but we've got the gap is closing. So we'll have to keep an eye on Taunton in second place, who has been able to bring it around the last lap. He was 2 seconds quicker than Shields last lap. So there's definitely something that's going on with Shields, and you can see here Jeff Taunton in the Marc Cars Australia car. That's the generation.
That's the innovation race car,
as
opposed to the Manticos car, which is a Mark Mustang. This one, I guess, if you call it a Mustang, it's an innovation race car Mustang.
And we've seen them get some pretty strong results. Of course, they've run a couple of times with National Sports Sedans this year. Steve Lacey almost picked off a victory at National Sports Sedans level last time out at Sandown. Jeff Taunton had a great run here at Sydney Motorsport Park last year as part of the Marc Cars standalone championship round.
Yeah, and Taunton ran well at the Bend round of the National Championship. And of course, both those cars will be at the next round of the National Precision International Sports Sedan Championship, which will be at the Bathurst International in November on Mount Panorama, and looking forward to seeing how they go up there. What sort of lap time some of those fast cars can do.
You have to wonder whether Brad just made a mistake on the last lap and dropped a bit of time, because his first 2 sectors this lap have been pretty well fine against Jeff, but he did lose 2 seconds last lap. We'll see what the time is they come across the line. There's only 6 minutes left in the race.
He's half a second slower than Taunton. Taunton picked up another half second on that lap. So
I wonder whether it's just a bit greasy around some section of the back section of the track or something. Like, the other thing to think about is Brad doesn't necessarily need to race Jeff, and Jeff doesn't necessarily need to race Brad. They're in independent championships, so there's not really anything there for them. As we take a look further back down the field and shine the spotlight on Lythead here in the 67 Marc car.
Yeah, he's in the Mark 1 or 1.5, whichever way determined, and he's currently chasing Valeo in that Porsche production sports car. What an interesting mix that'll be at the combined sedans at Bathurst next year in February, early February, with all those...
oh, he's going to have a look, is he? No, not quite.
Thought about it.
Had a look, yeah. Tried his best to, but couldn't quite pull it up under brakes. Taunton's just taken more time out of Brad Shields in the first sector, but lost it again in the second. So.
Well, Taunton's had the fastest first sector all day.
Yeah.
Whereas Shields been faster in the next 2 sectors. So that tells me that maybe that's a bit quicker in a straight line, that the second place car, but not quite as good in the tricky bits.
Goes to show that all generations of the Marc car look great, don't they? They've all got their own distinct look and feel.
The original Marc cars were, well, that's another big lock-up. He had an earlier one as well, and now he's likely to lose his... No, he was...
I thought there was...
I was going to say he's likely to lose the spot, and he did.
I'm guessing that Gessler didn't quite see the other car there next to him, a Pro. It all got very narrow and just enough car width to be able to let him through, so good job there for that one.
And Kurt McCready in his 2-litre improved production car. There's talk that he might turbocharge that and go to over 2-litre in improved production, but maybe he's looking at sports sedans, or I dare say he's probably just giving the car a run because they haven't been on track for a little while. Not part of this round. I assume that they'll be at the next round, which will be at One Raceway in November.
You've got to say the McCreadys, like AGM Engineering, long-time supporters of New South Wales Sports Sedans and motorsport in New South Wales. The team put together some incredible billet and machine componentry for all sorts of sports sedans competitors. So if you need some engineering done,
very wisely got out of the way of the 2 front runners coming through.
Sometimes that can be a good option as well. You bail out early and then tuck yourself in behind, and it gives you the opportunity to get a run on someone you haven't been able to pass before or the like. So we've got 3 minutes left in the race.
Oh, and it's getting quite close at the front of the field, isn't it?
Yeah. Marc car versus sports sedan. Brad has done a 134 flat last lap, whereas Taunton did a 133.4, so took 0.6 of a second out to close the gap to 0.2. Now that was probably traffic affected
Indeed,
to a degree.
When you consider that Brad did a 28 in qualifying. So
yeah, he's a bit away from his pace.
maybe he's just doing enough to get across the line first with the New South Wales Sports Sedan Championship the priority.
Yep.
But still wanting to win the race as well.
No. Well, his nearest competitor that he needs to make points on is Steve Lacey, who is second in sports sedans this weekend at the moment in this race. So
there's quite a points gap between them at the moment. There's 21 points separating Lacey and Shirls. Now, Lacey would be second of the sports sedans out there at the moment as well. So he's still picking up good points, even though we haven't seen a lot of him. As Gamburis has a big lock-up going down into turn 8, and maybe keeping an eye on the rear vision mirror and didn't quite see the braking marker.
Well, he's getting the blue flags as we go around. Glenn Plow was getting the blue flag.
And see,
Brad's
managed to pull the gap again now that once he's got out of traffic.
As we go back to this battle, and Mentikos has closed the gap to Nolan. And we'll see if he can make the move now to the inside at 6. And it looks like actually it's going to be 55 behind Aiello, who's going to try to show the nose instead. So ebbs and flows in all the battles around the track.
Well, 1 minute Baileo was battling with Lifehead, and now he's he's on the back of this next group. So he's
got some pace, but Nolan with a massive lock-up down into the hairpin. I thought he was going to run wide and end up with a bit of a 50-cent piece on the front tyre. He's obviously feeling the pain as well.
Problems here for Adam Hargraves, who was running in third spot.
He was our pole sitter for Marc Cars as well. So
that's an engine by the look of it. Or power steering, but more likely an engine by the way he's pulling it up.
Well, it's hard to tell whether something's just rubbing in that front right even, because it's all coming from the front right. Or the way cars are running wide, that doesn't bode well. And oh no, Brad Shields.
This happened to him earlier in the year, if you recall.
I was going to say they've had some dramas with the electrical in that car and the way that the dash talks to the ECU. I thought they had that a couple of years ago as well and managed to get rid of it. It looks like he pulled to the side there. This will be the last lap, so Taunton's going to pick up the victory.
So where does Lacey fit into this now? Is he ahead of Shields as well?
We'll have to keep an eye out as they come through the next sector. So Taunton definitely passed Shields before the end of sector 1 because timing updated there. No, Shields is still in front of Lacey at the moment. I think he probably has about a 7-second gap to the good for the final corner. So,
and we're seeing the oil flags out now as well. So Jeff Taunton across the line, takes the win in the Innovation Race Cars entry in the Marc Cars Australia category.
There you go, Brad Shields at the bottom of the straight, Steve Lacey just coming around the top. So Brad just got it home to be able to collect those all-important championship points. Joe said really wants to clutch him.
Lucky we weren't seeing you anywhere near Joe while that was all going on. But Steve Lacey comes home in third spot. He's second of the sports sedans across the line. And Jake Donaldson looks like he did get the line there. He had a drama earlier, didn't he, in the Porsche?
Yep.
But has got it back. Dan Nolan should be the next one through. Just waiting for him. And Casper Tressida just pips him on the line. So he goes back a spot. Nick Mantikos the next one. Then it's Valeo. And it should be Leafhead in 9th position, and Crossing continues to, we haven't seen him as yet, but he should be number 10.
Crossing, Hargraves, though Hargraves is probably
Skinner,
not going to finish.
actually, Skinner got ahead of Leafhead before the line as well.
I don't think we'll see Hargraves come back around since he stopped at turn 2. Well, the slippery surface flag, there he is. And I think there's a fire underneath that car, so they may need to get something out to that reasonably quickly. As we take a look at the results now, I think we've got everybody finished. We definitely have. So it's going to be the end of race 1 for the combined New South Wales Sports Sedans and Marc Cars Australia here at Sydney Motorsport Park, of course, supported by Production Sports Cars as well. The brilliant first race there. 2 more races to come and 1 independent race for Marc Cars to come as well. So 3 more for them as we take a look. Jeffrey Taunton, Brad Shields, Steve Lacey, Jake Donaldson, Casper Tressida, Daniel Nolan, Nick Mentikos, David Vowlo, Anthony Skinner and Timothy Lighthead coming through. Taunton running with 50% throttle, the update from the pits, Gary. So I guess
lucky that
both
Shields had a
leading
drama.
cars must have been having a drama there towards the end. So
exactly.
we'll see if they can get them repaired. We'll see if Hargraves can get back out for tomorrow's second race as well. Make sure to check out the Marc Cars Australia Facebook page for more video content and information, as well as the New South Wales Sports Sedans pages for a lot more video behind the scenes and information as well. Until tomorrow, we hope you've enjoyed the racing here on Blendline TV. Bye for now.